In this video we're going to get the title blocks lined out, at least the borders, the lines that create them. We'll do the text that goes in them separately in another video. Right here I have my A horizontal or A size sheet, horizontal orientation. Again, you can see that I do have that first rectangle around the edge. If you want, sometimes what I will do is go ahead and fillet that. That way it's just a little easier to see, at least in one of the corners. It kind of stands out, doesn't get hidden by the edge of the paper itself. So back to the title blocks though. What we're going to be creating is this right here. And this is basically a simplified title block. The other one that you will also be creating, a little bit more detail, and it has this extension here on the left basically to identify that we are doing third angle projection. This would obviously say first angle projection if that were the case, as well as the symbol down here would be different. And then a very standardized note, unless otherwise specified, dimensions are in inches or millimeters, likewise. And then of course tolerances for 1 decimal place. The dimension we give is plus or minus 0.1, 2 decimal places, plus or minus 0.01, 3 decimal places. Sometimes this is a 0.005, 0.006 happens to be a couple companies here in town what they use, and then angles plus or minus 0.5 degrees, which is the same thing as 30 minutes. So I'm going to put these over on my other screen. As well, I am going to show you, here are the dimensions. Now you have these available, these images available that you'll have to go by to create your title blocks. I've mentioned in class, and even if I haven't or if you weren't there, what I recommend is making each one of these a rectangle. The reason is when we do the text, I want to be able to have this midpoint object snap, this midpoint object snap, this midpoint object snap under every one of those. That'll make more sense when we do the text. So at this time, now I've told you before, you don't want lines over the top of lines. Well, if you do this rectangle here and this is a separate rectangle, you have 2 lines right here. Understandable, that's okay at this time. So as long as you know what you have, ultimately that is what's important, is knowing what is there. So I'm going to move this one over also, and I'm going to get started. So I'll probably start with the largest one, and here I am in no print. I'm going to go ahead and go to title block, and everything is by layer, and I will do the rectangle command. Now it is entirely up to you. If you want to start here on these lines, that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and do it right here, and I'm going to say 8.5 comma 2, and if need be I'll just move it over. I can create this up here, and then I can move it to where this point here stops at and hits this line. Then I can move the whole thing down until this point here hits that. If you want to go ahead and do it now, let's just go ahead and do it now. From there to there, and again there to there. Now I've filleted my border, and so this is going to have to be filleted also. You don't want this little corner sticking out, and so I know that's a 0.25, plus it's still my default, so I will say 0.25 on the fillet. There we go. Next thing I will do, and I'm going to try to go through these pretty fast, I'm going to go ahead and start up here in the top right corner, and then work my way over to the left. REC, I know. Now I'll go ahead and use this corner so I don't have to move it. Now notice on your dimension, or excuse me, on your dynamic input, it shows a -4 and a -0.7. It's because I'm going left and down, and in this case that is a negative direction. So this is a -4 comma -5/8 or 0.625. Okay, and then I have another one. Now I don't know the size of this rectangle, but what I do know is that I have from down here on this corner, and I'll just go ahead and do it anywhere. So that way I can do positives 1.5 comma 11/32, and that is this one right here. That is this rectangle right here. So I know this left line here is common between the one I just made and this previous one. So I can go ahead and move this, hover, and put it anywhere, and then move it again until I'm down there. Okay, I could have done that in one step by saying down here at this corner, hover, come down, make sure I have that projection line, that tracking line. I'm using object snap tracking, and right there, that is the same. So now another rectangle from this point, and that is a 1, 11/32. Another one here of 1.5, 11/32, which should end up right there in the middle of this and that, and I am. So again, I'll fill it that again. Now, some of this seems to be a little redundant over and over, and that's true, but again, this is the title block. This is a little bit different than other normal drawings. So another rectangle from this corner, and it is a 0.5, now it is 19/64. I don't know the decimal, so I'll just go ahead and do the fraction. 1, 19/64. Right click. Make sure you're clicking those object snaps properly. 2, 19/64. And then, now technically I can just come up here and go click there. And if you didn't see what that was, I'll do it one more time. REC from here. Now I'm going to hover here, and you see my object snap tracking line until I get to there. And it's right there in the center like it belongs. So back out. Now this rectangle here is simply right there. Okay. Now I'll come over and I will do a rectangle of 2.125, 11/32, and I will move it there, and another rectangle here up to there, and I have another rectangle exactly that same size. I'll do a copy from this bottom to this top. Again, if that's what's going to be true and common, then use those object snaps. Now another rectangle, and even though I could copy all these up and then draw a line down the middle, again, I want to have that midpoint at the bottom of each of these rectangles. So 1.25, 17/64. And then whatever this is, which should be a 7/8, 17/64. Now those, as I look, there are 4 rows of these 2 rectangles. Now I can just simply copy from here to there, and now this should, as I zoom in, the top of this last rectangle should line up perfectly with this. And if I click this border, I don't see any overlap or anything messing up. So that is good. Now this left side, this very last point, or last portion, and it is, I don't even have to measure, I'll just do REC, and I know from this corner it goes up to that top of that second rectangle, and then this one here to that rectangle there. And basically I am done. Now there's going to be a time, I'll show you here. Let me go ahead and save this drawing like you want to do regularly. Now if I copy these, now notice I'm using a blue rectangle. I am not selecting the border nor this blue rectangle on the edge of my paper. I'm only selecting what I'm totally consuming. So I select that, and as I copy, let me go over to A vertical and Control V. Notice I have a slight problem. This is a little bit larger than my sheet of paper. It's actually right at exactly the size of my sheet of paper. I don't want that. So in this case, that's okay. What's going to happen here is I'll just put it here. And what's going to happen is these are going to go away. This is going to, now be careful, don't select midpoint. Notice how it's kind of obscured up. just to make sure that it's going to select properly, I'm going to shift right click and I'm going to say perpendicular. Perpendicular is the direction where I'm going. Now if I hover here, you'll see the perpendicular symbol showing up there and there. This is just that condensed or slightly reduced title block that we'll use on this paper if we use this sheet. I don't know off the top of my head that we will, but I'll just move and I can say from here to here and then do it again straight down, or I can say that endpoint where the line and the arc meet down to that same point, and there, we are good. However, we're going to use this one on all the others. Now another thing we need to fix is the line weight of all of these, and what that is this one here, I want this to be half of the thickness of my border. Now these are rectangles, so instead of messing with line weights, I'm going to double click, I'm going to use width. Another thing I can do is click on this, go to my properties window, and right here it says global width. Global meaning all over, as opposed to if you do a different starting and ending, but I'll just click it there. My border is 1/16. Half of that, double up the 16, that'd be 1 over 32. 1/32, 1/32, and you'll see that it's a little bit thicker. All of these in here, I want to be half of that, so I'll select them all. Can't do a blue here because I'll be grabbing that last one, but anyway, whatever you need to do, select all of those on the inside and go to global width and say 1/64. Okay, and looks like I've missed something here, so select them again. Varies, so global width 1/64. Okay, and it looks like that is good. And then of course, since I've already copied this here, I'm just going to select all of those 1/64. And then I will come back and select this one. Now what's going on here is object cycling or selection cycling right here on my status bar, and that is the one I want, and that's not a 64th, that is a 32nd, so 1/32, and there. Now you need to copy these. I'm going to get this one finished up real quick. So here I want to copy this. Now like I've said before, Control C, this whole thing is going to be shoved into my crosshairs. So Control V, you see I can't be going down here now. What I need to just simply do is I'll just select it right there. I know it's here on the bottom, but now I need to select it all again and move from that endpoint to there, and it's good. Same thing on C. Well, you know what? In this case, I'll do that to copy everything here. Copy, C, Control V. Okay, a C size sheet is 24 by 18. This B size here that with my border is 17 by 11. So I'm going to stretch. I'm going to go past my title block to go from 17 up to 24. That is 7. Make sure I'm horizontally to the right. And then I will stretch again, not including my title block, to go from 11 up to 18 is a distance of 7. Got a little ghosting going on, so it kind of threw me off there. And Z, enter, A, enter. And I'll copy this one. Zooming in all the way. And this is a 36 by 24. So going from a 24 to a 36 is 12. And going from an 18 to a 24 is 6. And there we go. So now our title blocks are done. Now, if you've done this, that's fine. If you haven't, I really don't think I would, although it's okay. I'm thinking maybe if we would have filled in all the text, such as in the next video, and then copied them over, that would have been a good idea as well. But either way will work.